boys and girls. Welcome to Story Time with me, Sophia. Today, we're going to be learning about Prophets Zakariyyah and Yahya. Prophet Zakariyyah, may Allah be pleased with him, was a descendant of Prophet Ibrahim, as was many of the other great prophets that came before him. He worked as a carpenter and earned his living for his family. His wife was Al-Yashbi, who belonged to the family of Prophet Harun alayhi salam. The years had taken their toll on Prophet Zakariyyah, who was now old and feeble with age. He was now in his 90s. Do you all know anybody in your 90s? Maybe your grandma or your grandpa? MashaAllah. Despite his feebleness, Prophet Zakariyyah went to the mosque daily to deliver lectures and teach classes. Zakariyyah was not a rich man, but he was always ready to help those in need. Prophet Zakariyyah and his wife were the symbols of piety and righteousness for all who met them and all who had heard about them. Prophet Zakariyyah was also the caretaker of Maryam, radiallahu anha, who later became the mother of Prophet Isa. Now, Maryam was the niece of his wife, which is how he became her caretaker. Maryam, radiallahu anha's mother, had taken a vow during her pregnancy. She dedicated her child's service to Islam right in the city of Jerusalem, before she was even born. When Maryam was born, she was given to her uncle, Prophet Zakariyyah, to take care of her and make sure that she had served Allah as promised. See, Prophet Zakariyyah was also in charge of calling the adhan for Salah, as well as the general upkeep of Masjid al-Aqsa at the time. She began growing very quickly, much faster than other children her age. And very soon, she became a beautiful, pious, and knowledgeable young woman. When Maryam grew older, he gave her a room inside Masjid al-Aqsa so that she could carry out her duties at all times. From a very young age, she was very pious. Allah had referred to her as a wali in the Quran. It has also been mentioned that she used to receive different types of fruit when it was not even in season to receive such fruit. She had winter fruits in summer and summer fruits in winter. Can you imagine having mangoes all year round? Prophet Zakariyyah alayhi salam used to ask her, "From where are you receiving these fruit?" And she used to reply, "From Allah." Boys and girls, can you believe that? To be short, her entire life was something to marvel about. As Prophet Zakariyyah grew older, his one disappointment in life was that he had no children of his own. This worried him, for he feared that there would be no one to carry out his work when he passed. The people needed a strong leader, for if they were left on their own, they would move away from Allah's teachings and change the holy laws to suit themselves. Many were very selfish before them. He cared for Maryam dearly, but that just wasn't enough. His longing was not to satisfy his desire for a mere child, but he wanted a son, a strong son, to maintain the religious activities of the cities, including calling the adhan, one of his greatest responsibilities. After all, it was such a blessed city, and he wanted to make sure someone would carry out all the responsibilities and take care of the people, help guide them, and keep them on the right track. One night, Zakariyyah stood in prayer, praying for Allah to bless him with a good son. He knew that he was too old and his wife was not well enough to get pregnant. He knew that they were unable to raise a child in their old age, but he had full faith in Allah that one day, Allah revealed to Zakariyyah alayhi salam that he would indeed have a son. Subhanallah. His son would be a great prophet and a leader, an example to all mankind. And he was to name his son Yahya. Never before him was there a person with that name. He would uphold the innocence of Maryam and he would serve Allah. Shortly after the revelation, Allah blessed Zakariya and his wife with his son. But there was only one condition. He would not be able to speak for 3 days. As Allah willed, he named his son Yahya. MashaAllah. You see, boys and girls, Prophet Zakariya made strong dua to Allah, and Allah blessed him. His wishes came true. You see, when you pray for something good and you aren't selfish, Allah will reward you. Zakariya was more concerned with having someone to teach, to take care of the masjid, and to pass on Islam when he died. He knew him and his wife weren't strong enough, but he knew he had a responsibility and to make sure everything would be okay when he was gone. Boys and girls, when your mommies and daddies want you to do something, you should pay close attention. One day you may not have them by your side, so you should learn everything from them while you can. That means learning all of their good recipes for curry, learning how to change oil in the car, and even, and especially, learning Quran. Your parents have plenty to teach you, so pay attention. Now, Yahya was only 3 years old when Allah spoke to him about being a messenger of Islam. When the other children tried to play with him, Yahya said that he was not born to play and waste time. Most children took delight in torturing animals, whereas he was merciful to them. He fed the animals from his food until there was nothing left for even himself, and he just ate fruit or leaves of the trees. Allah the Almighty gifted him with the ability of passing judgment on people's affairs, good judgment to help them, interpreting their secrets and guiding people to the right path, warning them against the wrong ones. Yahya reached maturity very early, mashallah. Now his compassion for his parents, as well as for all people around him and all creatures, increased greatly as he aged. He called people to repent their sins and pray to Allah for forgiveness. Prophet Zakariyyah and his young son Yahya also played a very big role in the story of Maryam radiallahu anha and Prophet Isa alayhi salam's miraculous birth. You see, where Maryam lived in the mosque, nobody ever went to visit her except for Prophet Zakariyyah. When he came to find out that she was pregnant, he became very sad and thought that people in Palestine would blame him as nobody visited her except for him. He informed his wife about Maryam, and she said, "Don't you worry. Allah is great, and He will help you in this situation." And she asked him to bring Maryam to her so she could ask her about the father of the child. You see, boys and girls, the only way a baby can be born is when it is blessed by Allah as a gift to a mommy and a daddy. If Maryam had no husband, then how could she be pregnant with a child? Prophet Zakariyyah was not her husband, and he did not have any relations with her, other than as a kind, older caretaker, like a grandfather. Zakariyyah brought Maryam to his wife, but his wife could not stand to give respect to Maryam as she was pregnant with Yahya at the time. You see, when your mommies get pregnant, sometimes they get very tired and very weak. By the grace of Allah, Yahya took out his hand and helped his mother to stand up for Maryam in respect and said, "Maryam, the mother of Isa, who is in her womb, is coming to you, and you can't stand for the respectable lady?" Prophet Zakariyyah's wife heard the voice of her unborn son from in her stomach, and she stood up, nice and tall. Yahya also bowed down in his mother's womb, just in front of Maryam. This was the first testimony of Yahya. Subhanallah. Yahya communicated with his mother from her stomach. This was enough for Zakariyyah to understand the power of Allah and that Maryam's child was truly a miracle that Allah and only Allah could have empowered. Maryam was always a strong woman against everyone else. She was blessed and pious from birth, so it was only suitable that she would give birth with Allah's miracles as well. Now Yahya bore witness to Maryam's innocence and the virgin birth of Prophet Isa alayhi salam. He stood by Isa's side and he confirmed the prophethood of Isa, and they grew up very close over the years. One day, Yahya's parents were looking for him and found him all the way at the river Jordan. When they met him, they cried so much, seeing his great devotion to Allah. He was lying inside of a grave which he had dug. "My son, we have been searching for you, and you are right here, dwelling in this grave, crying?" "Oh, Father, I did not tell you. And did you not tell me about paradise and hell, and there's only a short span between, and that it would not be crossed except by the tears of the weepers?" He said to him, "Then weep, my son," which means cry. "Then cry, my son." And they cried together. See, boys and girls, this was a lesson of humility. They say Yahya cried so much that tears marked his cheeks. He found comfort in the open and never cared about food. He ate leaves and herbs and sometimes even insects that crawled on the floor in front of him. He slept anywhere in the mountains or in the holes or in the ground. Sometimes he would find a lion or a bear as he entered the cave, but being so deeply absorbed in praising Allah, he never worried about them. The beast easily recognized Yahya as the prophet who cared for all creatures, even them, so they would not leave the cave or fear him. Instead, even they bowed their heads in respect to him. You see, Yahya was a very pious man. He did not hold on to anything of this earth. When Yahya called people to worship Allah, he made even them cry out of love and submission, arresting their hearts with the truthfulness of his words. Yahya knew that the bounties of this life were nothing to hold on to. He knew that the hereafter was the most important, the most beautiful goal for us all. He feared the hellfire and tried to live a simple, humble life to please Allah. He constantly cried and begged Allah to save him from the hellfire and protect him from anything of this life that would take him there. All right, now I don't want you to cry, but we have just a few minutes for a break, for a few commercials, okay, boys and girls? And when we return, we'll find out about Shaitan's visits to Prophet Zakariyyah and his son, Prophet Yahya.